Imagine a lake. A quiet, freshwater lake in Louisiana. Just a few meters deep. Fishermen head out onto the water every morning. Homes line the shore. Birds nest on small islands. Freshwater fish swim beneath the surface. It looks like the kind of place that has always existed and always will. But on November 20th, 1980, a single mistake changed everything. One miscalculation, one drilling operation, and an entire lake literally disappeared. Lake Peigneur was located in southern Louisiana. It was a relatively shallow freshwater lake. Its maximum depth was only a few meters. Homes, gardens, and private docks surrounded its shores. The lake supported freshwater fish and wildlife. Birds, plants, and aquatic species had adapted to this environment over centuries. For local residents, it was simply part of everyday life. But hidden beneath the lake was something enormous. More than 400 meters below the surface lay one of the region's largest salt mines. A vast underground network of tunnels stretched beneath the lake. And that combination, a lake above and a mine below, would eventually lead to disaster. In the fall of 1980, an oil company began drilling in the area. Everything appeared normal. The weather was good. The equipment was functioning properly. No one expected a problem. Then the drill deviated from its planned path, only slightly, but enough to puncture the ceiling of the salt mine beneath the lake. At first, nobody realized what had happened. The drill suddenly became stuck. Workers tried to free it. And then the lake began behaving strangely. A small whirlpool appeared on the surface. At first, it didn't seem alarming, but it kept growing. Water began rushing downward. Not into a river, not into the ground, but into the enormous underground mine. Imagine pulling the drain plug from a bathtub. Now imagine the bathtub is an entire lake. The flow became stronger and stronger. The shoreline started collapsing. Trees slid into the water. Entire sections of land vanished before people's eyes. To the same time, 55 miners were working deep below the lake. They were nearly 400 meters underground when water suddenly began pouring into the mine. At first, it was a trickle. Then it became a flood. The miners immediately realized something was terribly wrong. An emergency evacuation began. The last workers were still ascending to the surface, while tunnels around them were rapidly filling with water. Remarkably, all 55 miners escaped alive. It remains one of the most extraordinary aspects of the entire disaster. As the whirlpool expanded, the lake transformed into a giant vortex. A drilling platform was pulled under, then a dock, then a tugboat, then 11 barges. Cars disappeared. Trees disappeared. Entire sections of shoreline collapsed into the growing sinkhole. Even a nearby island and botanical garden suffered severe damage. Witnesses later described the scene as if the earth itself were being swallowed. But the strangest part was still to come. Lake Peigneur was connected to the Gulf of Mexico through the Del Combre Canal. As the lake drained into the mine, its water level dropped dramatically. Eventually, the flow reversed. Instead of water flowing from the lake toward the Gulf, Gulf water began rushing toward the lake. For a brief period, a massive waterfall formed. approximately 50 meters high. The tallest waterfall ever recorded in Louisiana. Saltwater surged into the collapsing system below, and in that moment, the fate of the lake was permanently changed. It seemed as though everything that had sunk was gone forever. But a few days later, another astonishing event occurred. Once the mine had completely filled with water and the pressure stabilized, 9 of the 11 sunken barges suddenly resurfaced. They were literally pushed back to the surface. Witnesses compared it to corks shooting out of a champagne bottle. After disappearing into the depths, the barges unexpectedly returned. The disaster eventually ended, but the environmental consequences were only beginning. Before the accident, Lake Peigneur had been a freshwater lake. Afterward, enormous quantities of seawater had entered the basin. The lake became brackish and eventually much saltier than before. To people, that may sound like a simple change in water chemistry. For nature, it was much more significant. Freshwater fish populations were disrupted. Aquatic plants struggled to survive. Bird habitats changed. Food chains shifted. An ecosystem that had developed over generations suddenly had to adapt to an entirely different environment. In a matter of days, a world that had existed for centuries was gone. The companies involved faced millions of dollars in damages and legal settlements. The salt mine was lost, equipment was destroyed, infrastructure disappeared. Some people lost jobs, others lost investments and savings tied to the companies affected by the disaster. For many local families, the consequences lasted long after the whirlpool was gone. Today, Lake Peigneur looks peaceful. Visitors would never guess that one of the most bizarre engineering disasters in history happened here. Yet traces of that day still remain. The altered shoreline, the deeper waters, the remnants of structures that once stood on dry land. Lake Peigneur is a reminder that humans do not always need to intentionally damage nature. Sometimes all it takes is a single mistake, one incorrect calculation, one hole drilled in the wrong place. And the consequences can reshape not only a landscape, but an entire ecosystem forever.